So my 2023 Honda XR150L. I really think I'm ready to review this bike, and this is a little bit different than I usually do some of my reviews because I have lower miles on this motorcycle than I usually do on any of them. I only have 423 miles on this bike, but I have ridden the beans out of this bike. A lot of on-road, probably roads I shouldn't have taken this on, and then a lot of off-roads. Also, some roads I probably shouldn't have taken this on. So I have some really good times with this bike, and I can truly speak on it. And we can talk about who is this bike for? And talking about who this bike is for, I want to give my disclaimer that I put in front of any of my reviews as far as motorcycle, tires, or bike or anything like that, right? I always want you to focus on your riding style, not my riding style. Where am I taking this? How am I riding it? I'm reviewing it as me, but I want you to pick it apart. If I'm loving this bike, maybe you won't. Maybe you will if I'm hating the bike, you know? So you got to take in your riding style into account of what I'm talking about, not necessarily my riding style, because you are what makes the bike, not me talking about it. I just want to give you my perspective. So anyways, let's go ahead and dive into the review on the 2023 Honda XR150L. Now you all know I'm not one to sit here and bore you yakking about specs that you can look right up on the manufacturer's website. I'll throw a couple up on the screen so you can see them. But again, I want to talk about my actual owners, users, riders' experience with this. And the number one area where I think this bike is attractive to a lot of people, well, besides the price, because the price is very attractive if you don't go to a dealership and they try to rip you off, make sure to watch out for them. It is the size of this bike, the maneuverability of this bike. So I'm right at 6 feet, 180 pounds, and I can flat foot this bike perfectly. Like, I can dance the bike around. It's so light, you know, even though you got like a 2-point-something gallon tank, it's still very light and very manageable. And if you drop it, you can really pick it up. But again, that height of the seat and the bike itself is just a very relieving, confidence-inspiring height. It's so nice. And when you sit on it, the suspension goes down a little bit more, and bam, you're right like that. Now, I know some people might be thinking, well, it's going to be too small. And it's really not. Again, myself right at 6 feet, it is a very nice seating position. Now, the one thing for me, and y'all saw it in my mod video, right now I got it pretty much set to stock minus my grips and my foot pegs, but I did put some bar risers on it because I felt like I was just kind of leaning down a little bit, especially when I stand up on it. That's the only thing as far as the height of it. When I stand up, I am leaning a little bit forward, which you want off-road, but I mean, not this much, especially if you're doing long stints of off-road. So bar risers, I think, are a very great improvement and mod for this. But again, the basic seating position it's just perfect. And right in line with seating position, I want to talk about this seat. I absolutely love this seat. It's a little wider, especially coming from like a 300L if you're thinking about that, which we will do the comparison of that video coming soon. But the seat is a little bit wider. It is very soft. Just look at that give right there, even on the sides right here. So again, you don't got any crazy vibration going. The back seat also very soft. Now, one thing I will mention is there is a slight slope forward right there. So if you want to sit back here and lean against this, eventually you'll notice you'll be sitting a little bit forward here, you know. So that's probably my only gripe, but other than that, even for very long days on the seat, very, very comfortable. And touching on the one mod that I left on the bike right here are the foot pegs. Links will be right down in the description. These fit perfectly on there. I didn't have to shave them down or anything like that. The stock foot pegs that come on this, they're doable, but again, they're so tiny, like down there and then into here. My boots would constantly slip off them when off-road. That's with the rubbers off as well, just because, again, they're so small. You got a lot more boot coverage right here. Again, no modifications needed for these. Just go right in, bam, and you're good to go. So this is a much needed improvement, I honestly believe. Now, I want to talk about the build and some of the components of this bike. Again, it is a Honda, but it's a budget Honda, right? So you got to, again, understand that. It kind of right along with the power, right, with the engine right there. But a couple things I want to point out. Number one is as far as these blinkers. So you got your control over here, and I want to show you. It's almost got like a slight delay. So I'm going to flick it, and then you'll see it come on here. You see right there, it almost takes a second to get that juice to it. And I'll go over to the other one here. It takes a second. It's just really weird. So I've caught myself when I'm riding. All right, let me turn my blinker on a little bit early there and get a little bit of a head start. So again, that's just something that just messed with me a little while. Now, as far as new riders, There's not a tack on this, there is not a fuel gauge, and there's not a gear indicator. You know, that's something I really like, because I'm always searching on this. I'm searching for like 6 gears sometimes, or I'm kind of like, all right, am I getting down to neutral from downshifting? I'm so used to gear indicators, technology on bikes and stuff, so that messed with me a little bit, but I don't think it's necessary. But again, it's just something I like. Now you can see over here on my engine casing, it is starting to brush off some of that paint there, and this happens on all of my bikes eventually, but it's usually up above around 1,000+ miles. This is at 4 and something miles. I do wear riding boots, and I ride pretty tight against it, kind of holding it, getting through some technical situations, and you can see it is already starting to show the fade there. Now, one thing I do want to mention as far as the black color here, you all know I was waiting and shopping around for the black one. They had the white one, but I was like, nah, I want to wait for the black one, right? And I do take this on some bushy trails out there, just cutting through some stuff, and the black shows significant scratches. Of course, that's with any bike, you know, but again, just keep that in mind. If that little kind of surface scuffs bother you, get the white version. Now, one weird thing happened to me on this bike once when I was out on a group ride, talking about, again, the build and components of it, is I was riding around all day for long distance, perfectly fine. We get to a gas station, I park, shut it off, grab a drink, turn it on, and go like 20 feet over to a gas pump. The bike died. I couldn't start it or nothing. The headlight wouldn't come on. And what happened is it blew one of the fuses in there. Luckily, there was a spare in there, and I had some guys to kind of help me out troubleshoot it, right? But anyways, I started looking online. I'm like, what is this, man? This is crazy. And it's actually quite common. What people are stating is when you turn the bike on and you go here to fire it up, if your high beam's on, or maybe if you hit the button while you turn it on, I don't know if that's what happened to me, I'm not too sure, but they say it blows the fuse. I haven't tested it again. We're all good to go right here and everything. But again, I just wanted to mention that thing that did happen to me, and it is happening to other people. You can see it on the Facebook page and forums. Now, let's go and talk about riding this bike. In the number one area, I want to start with this before we talk about what can it handle and the power and stuff. I want to give you a listen. So let's go and fire it up here. And this is you on the bike. This is what it's going to sound like. I'm going to get you behind the bike so you can hear that. Idle. Little gas. Again, this is how you sound up front. I absolutely love how quiet this bike is. Because again, you're going to be taking this bike into some remote areas. Well, at least I do, right? Your riding is going to be your riding. Off into the woods, off into these random trails. And it's so nice that you're just not disturbing the neighborhood around you or the nature. You can still hear the nature. Sometimes, like when I was in group rides, I'd have to lean down and kind of hear if the bike is started. It is that quiet compared to the other bikes around you, and I absolutely love that. But anyways, let's get into the power and what can the bike actually handle. So again, we got a 150 here, and I think the majority of us understand what you're buying. You can get on some Facebook groups and a lot of people are talking about it. Oh, what's this bike doing? I can only do 55. Then you got this other guy, oh no, I'm hitting 70 on it. Let's be realistic here. In stock form, it's a 150, right? You're gonna have some wind. It's gonna depend on your weight. It's gonna depend on your terrain, right? Around my area here, I have highways that are pretty consistently around 65, 55, and then down to 45. When I get onto the highways of 65, it is a little scary because this bike takes a while to get there, right? Your first couple of speeds up to like say 45 or 40, you are perfect. I mean, you can really get there. But anything beyond that, passing power, especially if you're up into the 50s, and then your passing power is done. You're pretty much always pinned out on this bike, you know? So I would say stay on the back roads, stay on roads that are 45 miles per hour, because then you're comfortable. You still got a little bit of ground to play with. When you get on the highways of 55 or 65, you're pinned out, you're maxed out. And me riding bigger bikes, you know, or even talking about a 300L, you always have a little bit of background right there to help you out. On this bike, you don't. And that, for me at least, my style of riding, it makes me a little bit nervous there. So as far as the debate of what kind of power and speed can you get out of this bike, again, at the end of the day, it's a 150. You know what you're buying. Now, what I want to chime in on that also is as far as gas mileage. Now, I ran one full tank out of this. It sputtered out on me, and then I went to reserves. Before it sputtered out on me, I was at 158 miles. Then I flicked over to reserves. Don't know how many miles I got on that because I went right to a gas station. But again, you can see other people talking like, oh, I get 200 miles. I think Honda says 98 or something like that. I did get 158 miles out of a tank before reserve. But any of that power and all that doesn't really matter to me because I'm treating this bike like a dual sport. And talking about that, I want to kick it off with the tires here. I honestly love these stock tires. Are they perfect? No, not by any means, but they definitely get the job done. They are a fantastic stock tire. But yes, I have gotten into some situations where I wish they were a little bit more knobby. In mud, they kind of slip out a little bit, but on the road, they're fantastic. On gravel, on just a random trail, they're fantastic. It's when it starts getting a little bit more deep, whether that be deep sand or mud, is when the traction kind of gives up a little bit, especially in mud. Sand, they kind of glide through and you just got to balance it, you know? And that is maybe one of the little complaints I have, not so much on the tires, because again, I really do like these stock tires, but it's hard to find a replacement set. They got these small, thin tires here, and it's hard to find a good knobby for these. Now, as far as suspension on the bike, yes, it is soft. It pretty much feels, I don't know, what I say, it feels like the 300. The 300L has a little bit taller suspension, so you got a little bit more give, a little more bounciness. But yes, when you are off-road, let me show you right here. You can see it goes down quite easily right there. And when you're off-road, yes, you will bottom it out if you got a little bit of speed and a few bumps out there. So it's not horrible. I honestly prefer softer suspension on my off-road bikes, and I really like this. It was minimal how much it bottomed out. It's not like one little divot, bam, and you're bottoming out. But if it's a constant going like that, yes, you will feel it. But right in line with that, talking about the power of the bike, the handling of the bike, the weight of the bike, the tires, we kind of compile all that in to riding a bike, your ride, right? We'll talk about my ride here. And some of you that watched some of my previous videos, you already know this. If you haven't watched them, go watch them, because we took this on some pretty fun trails. I like to call myself an adventure explorer when I'm on the bike. I'd like to turn down these random roads, right? You're on your main path, but you see this other turn down a trail, bam, go on it. It ends up not being a trail, well, you keep going a little bit, you know? That's why I like these smaller bikes. I ride a Triumph Tiger 900 Rally Pro, and you can't do that stuff on there, right? That's what these small bikes are for. And this bike gave me so much confidence doing that, because that's what I want to do, right? Again, your riding is your riding, but I want to go down that trail, ride that dirt road, but then there's this tiny trail right there. I want to be able to go down it and turn it and go over whatever obstacle I need to. And this bike made me think in my head, I can do anything. I could go down any of these trails, and I did. And I got stuck, but I got out of it easy. I was never worried, right? I was like, yeah, I can get down there, I can do it. It never held me back. It never did for the kind of riding I wanted to do. The only riding that, again, gave me a little bit of the heebs was when I got on those highways that were 65, 55. I was kind of like, okay, we're cutting it right there, you know. But everything else, this bike did, and it did it great. So there we go. We took a look at my 23 Honda XR150L. You can kind of piece together right now, right, how I could review this bike with so low miles. It's short and sweet, just like the bike. That is exactly what it is, short and sweet. It really gets it done. And again, for the money, if you're not getting ripped off by a dealer there, so again, keep an eye out for that. This is a fantastic bike if you understand and appreciate what you're buying. Don't expect it to be more, right? Understand what it is, and it's gonna take you so many places that you never thought you could go before with that confidence. And that is why this bike is amazing and totally worth it. I know what some of y'all are asking. If I'm sitting here praising the 2023 XR150L, why the heck did I just go buy a brand new Honda 300LS? Well, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell, because I will have a comparison video coming up on the XR150L versus the 300LS, being the lower version of the 300L. But all in all, thank you so much for stopping by and watching my review on the 2023 Honda XR150L. I hope my owner's experience type take review really helped you out and you're able to take something away from it, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that thumbs up, don't forget to subscribe, and I hope to catch you in the next adventure. Bye now.